Welcome to the Alberta Bound podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Hainsworth, mortgage broker and entrepreneur based out of Alberta. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking to Jenna Drummond, a realtor in Calgary, Alberta, and my friend Tegan McGinity, a financial advisor. We are going to chat about all things when it comes to purchasing your first home. This is the first of a two-part episode with Tegan and Jenna, with part 2 airing next week. Tegan and Jenna and I will also be hosting a free online event on Wednesday, July 30th, titled Your First Home Formula. So if you're ready to take the leap into home ownership, we're going to provide you with the tools and insights you need to succeed. To find out more information and to sign up, check out the Your First Home Formula link in the show notes. Welcome to the Alberta Bound podcast. I'm your host, Sarah Hainsworth, mortgage broker and your guide for building wealth through real estate in Alberta. Today, we have the pleasure of talking with Jenna Drummond. Why don't you say hello and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for having me, Sarah. My name is Jenna Drummond. I am a realtor here in Calgary, and I've been in the industry since 2017. So super excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, and then we also have Tegan, a financial advisor. So why don't you hop on and say hello, Tegan?
Of course. Thank you, Sarah. So my name is Tegan McGinity, and I'm an independent financial advisor. My practice is based in Winnipeg, Manitoba, but because I work virtually, I do have clients all across Canada. So I'm super excited to be here and chat with you guys.
Yeah, awesome. Jenna, what would you say is your favorite neighborhood in Calgary and why?
Ooh, that is so hard. I think I would probably say out of every neighborhood in Calgary, probably Britannia, because I just think it's like so posh with like the cute little shops that they have there. And it's really close to the walking path. There's a really nice off-leash dog park. We've got a Bernedoodle. So we just love going around there and just like walking and grabbing a coffee. And it's so wholesome. Yeah. So that's probably my favorite.
Oh, nice. And what about you, Tegan? Have you been to Calgary even?
I've been to Calgary, but it was back in high school. I had a soccer tournament there. So I don't know much about the neighborhood specifically, but it's definitely a nice area. Like my fiance and I have talked about maybe moving there one day. Really depends, like kids and grandparents and all that stuff. But yeah, Calgary in general seems like a great place to live. People say it's the better version of Winnipeg, which is where I live. So yeah, maybe you guys can help me learn the best.
Yeah, I know a good realtor in Calgary that you could talk to.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's talk about what makes Calgary a hotspot for real estate investing in 2025. Jenna, do you know like stats on the affordability in comparison to, let's say, BC and Ontario?
Well, so BC and Ontario, they're seeing some major shifts in the market right now between the periods of, say, like 2014 to 2020. Their market increased a lot, and then it continued to increase over the couple of years of COVID too. So they were seeing between like 10 to 20% increases year over year, which is crazy. So their market's stabilizing a little bit right now, but it is significantly more expensive than Calgary. So where you might get like, I think the average price of a condo, an apartment condo in Toronto is like 600,000. So that would get you, it probably depends on the neighborhood and, the size of the home that you're looking at. But the average price of a property in Calgary as of July 2025 is around $760,000. Like there's definitely some that would be more so in the $600,000 range. So way more affordable if you look at it that way. Condo in downtown Toronto for like single family home, at least non-condominiumized in Calgary.
What is the average home price in Calgary right now?
So across all property types, we're sitting at $586,000. The single family homes are selling on average at $764,000. Semis have increased a lot. I actually can't believe that they're so close to the single family home price. So a semi, meaning like a half duplex, is sitting just under 700 at 696. Townhouse is sitting right at 450, and an apartment condo is sitting at 333. So lots of variance, right? Like lots of different options depending on what somebody's affordability is and what their lifestyle is and what they're looking for.
Okay, and what type of Calgary property saw the largest year-over-year decline in benchmark price in 2025? This is kind of a trivia question because I have the answer.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I mean, year over year, both apartments and townhomes are down about 3%.
Yeah.
Apartment condos, like I said, there's just so much supply of them. So there's potential for like maybe some more price stabilization throughout the year. But townhomes, we don't see that like as much supply for them. So yeah, anyways, both townhomes and apartments, both down about 3%.
Yeah, you're right. So that's good.
I actually see a lot of people from Winnipeg, like where I live, moving to Calgary. There's not many people moving to other provinces. Like even just Calgary as a city, like that's where everyone's going. You see people are moving, going away, they're going to Calgary. Especially if you're coming from a place like Winnipeg, where it's maybe one of the more affordable places. It just goes to show that Calgary is kind of like that next step up, where it's still affordable, but you get those extra perks of, like you said, the mountains, being in nature and having those extra like amenities.
We have so many job opportunities as well. Like our economy is quite strong. I mean, it is quite dependent on oil and gas, but we're definitely diversifying. So that just gives us a little bit more flexibility if, you know, oil is struggling and like that part of the economy is just having a little bit more challenges. We're definitely seeing more in the professional services side, and tech is starting to become pretty big in Calgary too, which is really cool. So yeah, I mean, it's a great place to live or invest. I think that there's a lot of opportunities right now. There's a lot of supply on the market compared to a year ago. So there's so many opportunities of people who need to sell. And so investors or first-time home buyers, like you could get a good deal right now. Like who knows what the market will do, but if interest rates do decrease, that will likely bring more buyers to the market, which could mean more competition, which could mean less deals. So there's like this really unique window of opportunity right now. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
So I have a question for you, Jenna. If you could buy any property in Calgary, what would it be? Would it be like a downtown condo, a fixer-upper, or like a luxury home?
Good question. I personally am somebody who I don't really live with like outside of my means. So I don't think I would go luxury because I think I would rather have a little bit more flexibility in my lifestyle probably than like maxing my budget. But I would probably purchase a single family home because I don't really want the condo fees. So single family home or maybe a duplex, right? There's lots of opportunities where they are non-condominiumized, but you're an attached product. I think you want something that is close to amenities. And I mean, for me, like I said, I love the walking path. So it'd have to be something kind of close distance to like the river or something. But there's so many communities in Calgary that have that kind of feature, which is great. I think Calgary is one of those cities where they really focus on like green spaces and parks and like everything in each community, which is really nice. I think if I was to invest, I would probably look at a townhouse that has low condo fees. Simply because townhomes are more so in the 400,000, 450 range. So they're a little bit more affordable than your single family home, which, you know, goes up incrementally. But you might find something that's say $450,000 with condo fees of like $300 a month. And that's not horrible. So I think, you know, especially if it's an investment and you've got long-term tenants in there, you don't really want them to be dealing with any lawn maintenance or snow removal or things like that. It just, you know, is a little bit more taken care of, less maintenance for you.
Yeah.
So that's usually what I'm recommending to my clients if they have that little bit higher of a budget than an apartment condo.
So with the investment side of things, like how is the rental market in Calgary?
It's shifted a little bit. We had a really strong rental market for the past couple of years, and we're definitely seeing a little bit more supply come on, which is interesting because I do feel like within the past 2 years, a lot of the rental properties did end up selling. So I thought that there was going to be a bit of a shortage for rentals, but there's a lot of new construction happening in Calgary in terms of purpose-built rental. So lots of buildings that are strictly just rental units. So that is increasing the supply a little bit. But overall, it's still very strong. Like our rents have maybe decreased a little bit, but our vacancy is not very high. Still lots of options. Sarah, I feel like you should talk about what you're seeing in terms of like mortgages. Are you seeing a ton of refinancing? Like, what do you think is going to happen? Obviously, nobody has a crystal ball, but I'd be really curious to hear your perspective or your insights on what you think could happen for the next 6 months of the year, even because 2025 has been crazy.
Oh my gosh, I know it has been crazy. So to be fair, I think we are going to see a couple more decreases in interest rates. That's what experts are saying. But again, we don't ever really know. I can tell you from the variable rate side, it kind of has been fluctuating in the broker channel. And right now we are seeing some deeper discounts, which is wonderful. Not quite as deep as they were, let's say, 4 months ago, but they are there, which is good. And then obviously the fixed rates follow the bond yield. And so that one is tricky. Like, I don't know what's happening in Canada right now. I think like most of us, things are kind of up in the air with our economy. So we'll have to hold tight and see what happens there. But as far as renewals, like 2020, it's crazy to think that that was now 5 years ago, right?
Yeah.
But we're now seeing the people that secured those low rates, which is amazing. But also some people were able to purchase properties that they should have never had an opportunity to purchase. And they're coming up for renewal and they're scrambling because their interest rate is going to double, if not more. Mm-hmm. So I think in the mortgage side of things, I mean, it's a great opportunity for me to help clients look at what they have for options. I don't think everybody knows that there are options. You generally get your renewal letter, you see it, you sign it, and then that's it. But people are really missing an opportunity by not taking a deeper look or having a specialist look at that renewal and say, hey, does this make sense? Is there an opportunity to not only save money on an interest rate, but maybe we can roll in some additional debts that they've acquired over the last 5 years? So that's a big part of my business right now is renewals. I mean, we're in Alberta, so there are a lot of purchases happening right now. But again, renewals are a huge part of business. And yeah, I think 2025 has been a big year for that. So
do you see a lot of people reaching out to you because they have a lot of debt that they want to roll into their mortgages?
There are some people that are struggling. Yeah, I feel like in Alberta, we have such a unique opportunity here because our cost of living is lower. We literally just got an income tax break. So people all across Alberta are now paying less income tax. We only have 5% for GST. We don't have that 13% in other provinces. Yes, we accumulate debt. I don't think it's in the same capacity as, let's say, BC or Ontario.
Right.
Mm-hmm. The land transfer tax.
Yes.
There's so many savings.
Yes. It's wild how Alberta is just become this hotspot and this central area, which is why Calgary is such a beautiful place and people can go and you're like an hour from the mountains, maybe less. What is it, like $300,000 cheaper than buying like a single family home in BC? I don't know.
Oh God, a single family home in BC is like 1.3, 1.5.
Crazy.
It is crazy. Like even in like lower mainland Vancouver, like Langley, Maple Ridge, well over an hour to downtown Vancouver. So you're definitely in the suburbs. Like the townhouse market, I think is like just under $1 million probably. So to get something that's single family or standalone, probably in the 1.5 range, which is crazy.
Yeah. And what about you, Tegan? I guess we could talk a little bit about affordability in Winnipeg. Like, what are you seeing over there?
Yeah, like I'm not a realtor in the sense where I pay attention too much, but I mean, pricing has obviously gone up with everything. You know, you could get a house for $250, obviously not the best house, but now those are closer to like $300 or $350, right? And so it is going up for pricing. And so people do have to budget a lot more to save. But there has been like recent rollouts, which I'm sure you're familiar with, where, you know, sometimes first-time home buyers can get a 30-year amortization period instead of 25 years. So that's going to make it a lot more affordable for the newer generations growing up in a market where real estate is becoming more and more expensive and harder to get into.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the benefits to being a first-time home buyer right now. There are some savings accounts that I think clients should access, and maybe you can speak a little bit on those.
Mm-hmm, of course. So basically the best account right now is the First Home Savings Account. So it's basically a hybrid between your RRSP and your TFSA. Because normally with your RRSP, basically how that works is if you put money into it, you will get a tax rebate because you're basically deferring paying taxes on that amount till you take it out later. So the old school way of doing it was you could use the Homebuyers plan to access your RRSP money for a down payment on your house, but you did have to pay that back over time. Whereas now with the first home savings account, you do get a tax rebate if you put into it, but you can take it out tax-free, like a TFSA in a sense, and use it towards a house without having to pay it back. So it's a really strong tool if you are saving for a house.
And there is a guideline. Is it $8,000 per year from the time that the account is set up?
Yes, so you get $8,000 per year, but exactly, you have to open the account first. Whereas, something like a TFSA, ever since it became a thing, everybody starts gaining contribution room once they turn 18. Whereas the first home savings account, you only start gaining that room once you open it. So even if you're at a point where you're like, oh, I might not buy a house for like another 5 years, it's still smart to open the account because then you will start gaining that contribution room and you can carry forward 1 year of unused room. So let's say you open the account this year, you get $8,000. If you don't use it, next year you'll get $16,000 of room. But if you wait until you're ready to buy a house and you're like, okay, I'm going to buy a house this year, I'm going to open my FHSA, you're only going to be able to take advantage of $8,000 of that benefit rather than you could have had $16,000 in 1 given year.
Yeah, if clients are, let's say, getting help with their down payment from their parents, would the parents be able to gift them some money that they could then put into that savings account and then help them with the benefit of it?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Like, obviously, you have to be careful on like the accounting side if there's any rules with gifting money and whatnot. But really, like any amount of money you could technically put in there. I don't know if this is offside or not, but like even in the sense where you could technically take money from a line of credit and you could put that into your FHSA, right? You're going to have to pay that line of credit back. But if you're in a pinch and you want to get the advantage of the FHSA, you technically could. Same with gifts. You can always go back and do that. And let's say you had money sitting in like a TFSA, or you didn't have the money from your parents yet. You signed the sale agreement for the house. It's not too late to put into your FHSA. You can go, okay, take that money from your TFSA, put it into the first home savings account, or take the gift from your parent and throw it in there so that you can get that tax break. And then you have time right before the final deposit's due to then funnel that through your FHSA and do that withdrawal.
Is there any amount of time that the money has to be sitting in the HFSA? Because I know like when I purchased my home in 2021, we did take money from my RRSP and the money had to be in there for 90 days. So I'm just curious like how that works for the FHSA.
Yeah, so from what my understanding and everything that I read online on like the government website and everything, there is no minimum.
Cool.
Like some institutions will have like a hold where they need to make sure that that deposit you made isn't going to rebound, right? To make sure you actually have the money there. But basically once the money's in there and then it's good to go, then you can initiate a withdrawal.
Maybe I'll speak a little bit on that too from the mortgage side of things. Whenever clients are moving down payments around, it does get a little tedious in proving where that money comes from. So making sure that you talk to your broker before you start moving things around is important because lenders follow the down payment like a bouncy ball. So if it's in this account and then this account and then that account, we need to know every single account that it touches, and we need to have a 90-day statement for each of those accounts. So that's important, I think, too, to note.
Right. Right. Okay. And I guess in the 90 days, is that in the sense like you just need to make sure they had access to that money within 90 days? Like they didn't just inherit that money within like 30 days?
It depends on the lender and what their guidelines are. Some of them is 30, but for the majority of them is 90, and it's for anti-money laundering laws. So we need to make sure that that money isn't being laundered, and the best way to do that is to see it in the account for a minimum of 90 days.
Okay. Okay, good. So basically once you start actually house hunting, you should make sure your money's in the right spot.
Yeah.
I actually had a client who was kind of looking for a house, but she wasn't in a rush. And then her mom's a realtor, and so an off-market deal came up, and so she just jumped on it. And she messaged me and was like, okay, I gotta take my money out. And I was like, hold on, your money's still in your TFSA. We need to put it into your FHSA so you can get this tax break. Like, this is kind of what we've been waiting for. And we thought it was maybe almost too late because things were moving so quickly. But we were able to do the TFSA withdrawal and then put that into her FHSA. Now, I mean, everything went through, so that lender must be okay with it because she had the funds there to prove that she had them, right? And because we were able to actually do this, she's expected to save like $6,000 in taxes next year. Whereas if we didn't put in that effort and it was like, oh, whatever, doesn't matter, she would have lost out on those savings.
Well, and I think that's where it's important to be working with a good accountant also, because when it comes tax time, they're the ones that are dealing with that side of the transaction. And so having somebody in your corner is super important.
Tegan, I've got a question for you in terms of investing in those home savings accounts. So I'm aware that you can invest money that's sitting in your RSP or your TFSA. Those are kind of just the accounts or like the vehicles, but you can have investments within those to help those accounts grow. So I'm curious to know what your suggestions are and if you can also invest money that's sitting in your FHSA.
Yes. So kind of like what you said, they are vehicles, right? So they're all investment account, or you can use them to invest. So the only difference is how they're taxed, right? So you can invest your FHSA in the exact same stocks or funds as your TFSA or your RSP, right? And it'll grow the same. The only difference is that taxation. And then when you're deciding how you want to invest it, a big part of that is that time frame. So it's really important to know, or at least have a general idea of how long until you're expecting to buy a house, right? And that can come with meeting with both of you, right? To see, with Sarah, how much money do I need to save for a down payment, right? And then we can see, what's in the market, what do I want to go for? And then you can reverse engineer that to figure out, okay, well, how much do I need to save? Or how much can I save, right? Like if you want to buy a house in 2 years and you have to save $500 a month, but you don't have enough money, right? It might just take you a bit longer, right? So, but that time frame is really important because basically the risk level of your portfolio, which basically is what percentage is stocks and maybe what percentage is bonds, right? Higher risk or lower risk. Usually higher risk has more fluctuation, so more ups and downs. Bonds are lower, so less fluctuation. So the time frame is really going to tell you how much up and down you can afford to take, because similar with like an emergency fund, you don't really want that attached to the stock market because the last thing you want is to need to pull that money out when the market's down, right? You want to be able to wait for it to recover. So if you're, let's say, buying a house like this year, you probably don't want to put in the stock market because things are going up and down all the time, right? But if you have a couple years, you could potentially put it in the stock market, but maybe not as aggressive or as high risk as you would say like your retirement money.
Interesting. I had no clue, but I was listening to a podcast yesterday about just like purchasing a home and goals and, like the investing side of it. And I was like, I wonder if you could do that. So that's really interesting. Are you seeing a lot of people do that, or do they feel like it's a little bit too risky? I mean, I know it's a relatively new account, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it really just depends on the time frame, really. Like the clients that I meet with, we always go through like investment basics. So I take them through, you're probably going to see more ups and downs with the stock market if you invest this way, and this is how we diversify to reduce risk. So I give them a good understanding. And so if it is a couple years away, they are usually very open to investing it because we set it up to reflect that, right? But then again, I do have a lot of people that are like, oh, well, I'm probably buying within this year, maybe next year, but if something comes up that catches my eye, I want to be able to jump on it, right? And so if it's that close, usually you can attach like a high interest savings fund. So let's say you just use a high interest savings account, right? You're going to earn some interest on that money while it sits there and it's protected from the stock market, but it's not in your first home savings account. So you're not going to get that tax rebate. So there is a lot of options to use your FHSA, and instead of attaching, an investment fund to it, you attach the high interest savings fund. So it's very similar to a high interest savings account where you receive that interest rate. That interest rate can change just like how mortgage rates change and, the bond rates change, but that amount's not going to go down. It'll only go up. So that's a nice secure spot to even get like a little bit more bang for your buck, right? While the money's sitting there, if you put $8,000 in, well, maybe it grows by a couple hundred or something by the time that you're ready to use it. So yeah, it's all reflective of time frame, but yeah, you can invest it if you want to, if it's like a longer period of time.
Cool.
Yeah, I guess getting that account set up as soon as you turn 18 is a huge benefit, right?
I guess yes and no. It's more so depends on how long until you're expecting to buy a house, because you can only carry forward 1 year of unused contribution room. Whereas with the TFSA, it accumulates once you're 18. So, if you got 6,000 that year, 6,000 that year, 6,000, like, let's say you never used your TFSA since you were 18 and you're like 30. Well, you've accumulated a lot. But with the FHSA, you can only carry forward that 8,000. And so, I mean, if you open it at 18 and you plan to buy a house in 2 years, then yes, open it. But it's not going to make a huge difference if you're not saving right away. If you do technically start putting money in at 18, that can, have a, funneling effect over the years in that sense. But it really just depends on like how much are you going to be putting in there and how long until you expect to buy a house, and that will determine when you should really open it. But yeah, it doesn't hurt to open it as soon as possible, because then it's there when you're ready to use it.
So the government did put out a new program, and basically first-time homebuyers can save the GST up to $50,000, which is huge. You said you bought in 2021. Obviously you paid the GST, so that's not accessible for you, but it can be a huge savings for clients.
Yes, I'll touch on that a little bit. The federal government hasn't given too much information on what that exactly looks like right now. So I actually have a pretty strong partnership with a builder here in Calgary. And everyone is asking about this, GST rebate. It's a huge savings. So everybody wants to know how it works. And we're still waiting. We're still waiting for some information. But basically, until further notice, the way that it would work is the client would still have to qualify for the full price and then basically go back to the government and request the rebate of, say, $30,000, for example. So it would be kind of like an after fact, which is great. That's a huge amount in savings. But say that they can only qualify for this $670,000 house. They can't go buy that $700,000 house, because they still have to qualify at the other number. So it's going to be really interesting. I hope that they allow the builder to apply for the GST rebate on the buyer's behalf, because then that would allow the builder to just take the money right off the price. So we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah, I think there's so many government programs that have rolled out in the last, even let's say 6 months, but they don't have the details to support how we access them. House hacking is huge. So having the ability to refinance an insured loan and suite the property was a really great program, but it hasn't really been accessed yet. So that's another one that we have to wait and see what they say, and then I guess go from there.
So are there new rules coming? Because refinancing your house, pulling out equity, and then doing renovations, whether it's a suite or not, I feel like that's been around for a long time. But I guess, are they implementing additional features?
Yeah, so normally an insured loan becomes uninsurable when you pull the equity. And what they offered is that you can refinance up to 95%. And so that's huge, because normally you can only refinance up to 80%, leaving 20% equity in the property. But giving clients access to this additional 15% is kind of what was beneficial. And then on top of it, you can use the potential rental income to qualify for that loan.
Right. Well, that's super interesting. I always kind of thought about how it was interesting how you can buy a house, depending on how much it costs, but it's pretty possible to get a 5% down in Winnipeg. So you could buy a house with 5% down, but if you want to refinance and take money to renovate, you need 20%. So it's just interesting that they would give you a mortgage for 5%, but they won't give you a mortgage at 5% if you pull the equity out. So it's interesting that they're rolling that out now, because that definitely makes more sense.
The difference is that it becomes uninsurable once it is a refinance. And so the kicker is that the insurers are still going to insure it. And so previously they wouldn't. So now it's less risky, right? So they will go up to 95% because it's still insured. And I think that's what makes all the difference.